Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Leanne, and I share bite-sized bits of biblical wisdom and encouragement to help you get through the day and also just help you understand and make sense of scripture. So you may notice I'm not in my office as I usually am when I do these videos. I figured it is such a beautiful morning here in South Texas. Normally by now it's 1,000,000 degrees outside, but it's actually nice and breezy and I'm not even sweating. So I figured why not take advantage of just this beautiful morning that God has created. I got birds in the background and I'm hoping the other sounds, the noise of, I have a street right back here. So I'm hoping, it'll work with me and you can actually hear me. So today I want to talk about something that's going to kind of be a bit of a gut punch, and I don't want this to come across as condescending because I really want to encourage you with this. But think about this. As Christians, are we, in our words and how we speak to others, are we running the risk of actually condemning people to hell instead of sending them to the path towards Jesus? Think about it. So many Christians, and honestly, I will say I've been guilty of this a few times myself, maybe more than a few if I'm being honest. But, once we get right with God and start trying to walk that godly path, and especially maybe Christians who've been walking the path for a very long time, maybe their entire lives, develop this sort of holier than thou attitude in how they deal with other people who are still walking in their sin. I hear this crazy bird over here. I hope you could still hear me. And I want to kind of put it in perspective, and I'm going to use my own story as an example when I was very early in my walk with God. So when I first started on this path, it is a journey. It's not a please come into my heart, Jesus, and boom, everything's just perfect and you know what you're doing. It just doesn't work that way. For many people, especially if you're coming into it much later in life, you don't get it yet. So here's what happened to me. I was very early in my walk, and I did have this business, and I was trying to help people, Christian content creators really, learn how to do the tech side of stuff. I wasn't preaching scripture or anything like that. I'm not using that as an excuse, but I want to put the whole story in perspective. And at the time that all this, was the business was building, so to speak, I was actually living with my boyfriend. We were not married, and so we were living in sin. And in that season of my walk, I didn't quite understand why that was so bad. I was justifying it because of the monthly expenses of having two incomes and everything that came with that. Well, someone in my community, the Christian blogging community, say hi to my dog here, found out. It wasn't that I was trying to hide it. I honestly just didn't understand how important this thing was, that I needed to break this sin. I just didn't understand it. I was so new in my walk. So I wasn't trying to hide it. It's just I didn't talk about my personal life because this was business. So anyway, this person reached out to me, and she was also a Christian content creator, and her messages to me were very basically outright. She was like, I just heard this. Is it true? I was like, well, yeah. Of course I went into my justification. And instead of her trying to encourage me with, encouraging talk, her only thing that she wanted to say with me to say to me at this moment was, I'm sorry, I can't be a part of your community anymore. I can't do business with you anymore. I had this membership. People could pay I don't know what it was at that time, $5 a month to be a part of this membership group where they would get free tech support for me. So I wasn't offering scriptural encouragement or anything like that. I was literally just telling them how to build a website. That's what my business was at the time. And because I was living in sin, this Christian in her self-righteousness just outright cut ties with me altogether. She's like, you are sinning. You are not walking with God. We can't be friends. I can't do business with you. And I was kind of devastated in that moment. Fortunately, I shared my struggle with some other women that I served with at church. Again, I was still new to all this being a Christian stuff. I shared it with them, and they encouraged me. They did not condemn me. They let me know, yes, that you are living in sin, and the goal in getting right with Jesus is to leave those sinful ways and start walking along his path and in obedience with him, but that it would be a process that I had to eventually gather and learn on my own, in my own timing, God's timing. But they didn't discard me. They walked with me with love and encouragement. They weren't condoning anything that I was doing, and they were very adamant to say that you need to leave this lifestyle. You need to, get away from this so you can be right with God. But they still loved me, and they spoke words of encouragement and hope towards me, not condemnation. And that is what, so long story short, I'm here today, and now I am, of course, not living in sin. I'm not with that person anymore, and I understand all of that. And God has used all of that to bring me here today to be able to minister to people online. But my point is, what about all the people that don't have the backup, right? What if I didn't have those other women to pour into me instead of drain me with their condemnation? And that is what I want you to take away from this video today. In scripture, we've never seen a single incident of Jesus when he walked the earth, meeting someone, in person and doing this to them in a very judgmental condemnation kind of way. Every single instance, yes, he let them know that their sin they needed to not sin no more, but he spoke love and he spoke encouragement. He did not speak condemnation over them. And when you do that, you well-meaning Christians, I know you're well-meaning, but your self-righteousness of your current walk with God, which, spoiler alert, you are not without sin today. None of us are, no matter how self-righteous we think we are and how much walking the line we do. None of us leave this earth with a clean slate, so to speak. I mean, yes, our slate is wiped clean, but we sin every single day. And no one sin is greater than another sin. We are all sinners, and our sin is equal in God's eyes. So I just want to encourage you today, for those of you, especially if you've been walking with God for a long time, when you run into people and you meet people who are still in the clutches of their sin, be mindful of how you speak to them. Be mindful of the words you choose, the tone you use it, because you literally could be the person that causes them to flee from the path of Jesus, which ultimately means you and your words are condemning them to hell. And when you are at those pearly gates and you are presenting yourself to God, and he's going to judge you according to what you did here on earth, is he going to say, well done, faithful servant? Or is he going to, obviously he's God, and he's going to offer you grace and mercy, but you're still going to have that conversation with him. Did you do everything to show love and mercy and compassion to the people on this earth who were hurting and in the clutches of their sin? Or did you step on your high horse and your pedestal of self-righteousness to condemn them and make them flee from wanting to have anything to do with this family? So I would just leave you with those words today. Again, using my own story, and I thank God every day for the women who chose to encourage me and mentor me to the right path, and not leave me only in the hands of the one person who chose to condemn me with their words. And I don't hold grudge against this person. Let me make sure I say that outright, because I know this person was also struggling with sin as well. But as Christians, we have to do better at reflecting what Jesus is really about. He is about love and mercy and compassion. It doesn't mean we're condoning the sins that people are doing, but our words, how we speak to them, the tone, the inflection, everything is either going to send them this way or that way. It's our choice in which way we are sending them. So that's all today, guys. God bless. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope this encouraged you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments below, has this ever happened to you? Have you ever been guilty of using self-righteousness in your speech in an effort, a well-meaning effort to bring someone to God, to get them out of their sin? Could you maybe have said it a little differently? All right, guys, God bless.